A Lubbock apartment complex ridden with crime and neglect over the last several years is getting a more than $20 million makeover. I spoke with the organization helping to turn a federal program into a new way of life for some Hub City families. You've heard their name a lot in our newscasts over the last few years.
This was at the Ella Apartments near 58th and Avenue J.
From a ceiling collapse to violent crimes, one in 2021 resulting in the murder of a teenager.
Initial 3 suspects went to the apartment to rob the individuals inside the apartment.
Nicholas Bergfeld says poor management helped create an unsafe environment for tenants here.
Having a property that's really run down, where there's broken lights and you can essentially, trash pickup is rare and frequent, those types of things, it starts to create sort of environments that encourage certain behaviors to localize there.
Bergfeld says there was even one summer where these ACs here weren't working in the middle of a heat wave. We spoke to some residents who didn't want to go on camera, but they're really excited about these changes coming.
The Ella, to me, is a great story of how this type of situation can be avoided when public-private partnerships are able to really function well and everybody rolls up their sleeves to figure out a solution to a long-standing problem.
That solution starts with the Lubbock Housing Finance Corporation. Bergfeld, a board member, says under Sherry Flynn's leadership, it's worked for decades to make sure there's affordable housing for everyone in Lubbock.
It's our goal to work with private developers who have a vision of providing low to moderate income housing in the city of Lubbock and to make sure that they're able to take advantage of all the programming available to allow for that to occur.
As for the Ella Apartments, that work resulted in $22 million in tax-exempt revenue bonds from the federal government, a $1.75 million grant from the Federal Home Loan Bank of Dallas, and the use of low-income housing tax credits.
So this is unlocking federal dollars, state-level dollars, because of the fact that there's great professionalism and leadership here to go after those types of opportunities.
The Elizabeth Property Group out of Dallas will use that money to pour tens of thousands of dollars into each unit and commit to renting the vast majority out to low to moderate income families.
The motion to approve passes unanimously.
City Council voted to approve those revenue bonds this week.
I think we'd all love to see something happen there.
Bergfeld is excited for a new chapter for these apartments.
Everything is go, 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 and we'll be able to move forward in a timely fashion, which is very exciting. And I think really when all this is said and done, the people who have been living here are finally going to get the type of housing and amenities that they've deserved.
And a new chapter for, more importantly, he says, the people living in